My fiancée announced she is bisexual after a solo trip to a wedding. Betty, 27, F, and I, 30, M, got engaged in January after dating for a couple of years. We plan to marry next year after saving enough for the wedding. Shortly after getting engaged, we moved in together at the end of January. In May, Betty was a bridesmaid for a friend's wedding. I couldn't attend due to work and the trip being 5 days long. Betty had a great time reconnecting with old friends, but she became moody and withdrawn a couple of weeks after returning. I was relieved when she made an appointment with a therapist, as she hadn't opened up to me about what was bothering her. After about 5 or 6 sessions, she sat me down one Saturday morning to talk. Betty grew up in a very conservative household and had suppressed her desires until college. Even then, she denied and refused to embrace certain ideas. At the wedding, she met the wife of a college friend, which triggered a lot of repressed desires during the days they spent together before the wedding. She told me she felt romantic and sexual attraction to both women and men and realized she was bisexual. I told her I was happy she finally felt safe sharing this with me, and it didn't change how I felt about her. It was a very emotional moment. She asked how I felt about her exploring her sexuality now that it was out in the open. I said I was open to exploring it with her, possibly having a threesome with another woman to let her have that experience. She wanted a one-on-one experience with another woman and felt she couldn't do that with me present. I told her that sounded more like an affair, something I wasn't comfortable with. I asked if she wanted to cancel the wedding and maybe separate while she figured out what she wanted to do. She was adamant that wasn't what she wanted. She was still very much in love with me and still wanted to get married, but she felt she needed to explore these new feelings before we settled down. I asked if she had done anything inappropriate at the wedding and if she had cheated on me. I also asked if she had someone in mind or had been talking to anyone since she returned. She admitted to dancing with a girl at the reception and they kissed at the end of the night, but nothing else happened. She denied talking to anyone or pre-planning anything. She knew this was a lot to throw on my plate all at once and didn't expect an answer right away. She just asked me to keep an open mind and continue talking about it. I couldn't promise anything, but agreed to do some research and talk to a co-worker in an open marriage to see how they cope. I warned her that if I found out she lied or was doing anything behind my back, there would be no second chances and I would leave. My co-worker has been super helpful and open about their relationship. My brother got me into a support group that has helped me come to terms with our relationship changes. I'm burning through my second book and sat Betty down Thursday night to check in and discuss moving forward. I found us a couples therapist, gave her the book I finished, and suggested we postpone the wedding for 6 months to decide if that's still the path we want. I was on a roll when she stopped me and asked if I was planning on dating other people, like it never occurred to her I might date too. She kind of shut down after that, barely giving one-word answers when I asked her something. I think the longest sentence I got was, "I just don't know." She's been like that for 24 hours now, like she's lost in a fog. I'm just bracing myself for the inevitable flood of emotions. I thought she'd be happy that I was considering opening our relationship. Add on, my brother came out as gay when I was 16 and my parents were very supportive. So, I grew up in a very different household than my girlfriend. Apology, the second half of my post was written much later than the first half and after a few drinks. Rereading it made me realize I should have waited until this morning to post it. Sorry. Update. Saturday night, her fog lifted and things got pretty heated. She said the open relationship was my way of punishing her and being vindictive by dating other women. She was just asking for some grace to explore her feelings. I replied that she showed almost no remorse for cheating on me and instead expected an open-ended hall pass to do so again. I told her our friends had informed me she asked them not to say anything about what happened at the wedding, so I'd probably never know the full truth. I just had to accept it was worse than she admitted to. I asked if she thought it was fair to have sex with others while I waited by the door like some lovesick puppy, expected to wag his tail when she decided to come home and show some attention. It devolved after that, and we both said some hurtful things. I finally gave her 3 options if she wanted to move forward: monogamy, postpone the wedding, and go to couples counseling. No experimenting. When we get to a good place, then proceed with the wedding, with a prenup to protect me if she changes her mind or cheats again. Open relationship. We can both date who we want, and she can figure out her sexuality on her own terms. In a year or so, we can see if marriage still seems like a good option, if we're still together. Full separation. She moves out, and we can each be free to live our lives as we see fit. If or when she decides she wants monogamy with me, if I haven't moved on, then we can consider option number 1, but it would be a new beginning, not just picking up where we left off. She decided she needed some space to think things over and is staying with friends for a couple of days. I told her before she left that if she accidentally cheated while she was gone, to not come back except to pick up the rest of her things. This morning, I got a text from her. "I'm so sorry." She didn't answer when I asked what she meant, and my call went to voicemail. I'm not going to reach out again. I'll wait for her to contact me when she's ready. Relevant comments. GLBDS. Looks like your partner has been a bit self-centered about this. Good idea to take your time. The death of exclusivity, even hypothetically, can be pretty destabilizing for an established mono relationship. Keep talking. You seem to be handling this well, somewhat better than her, I think. Original poster, OP. I tried to handle this respectfully, but it seems fair to her is an open pass for her, not for me. I'm expected to support her while she has sex and possibly develops feelings for someone else. Just smile and nod. Then she got upset when I reminded her she was the one who cheated. I just finished printing cards to send to everyone we sent the save the date notices too, advising them we are canceling the wedding. Not sure how I'll respond when they start asking why. The cards just have "due to new circumstances" on them. Gringo Johnny, if the person asking is part of the group who withheld information from you, consider telling them the truth, that your fiancée cheated on you and her friends colluded to keep it from you. Consider telling that friend what you think of them for not having your back at such an important moment. Oop, I had that conversation with the friend who confirmed what Betty had told me. When I questioned him later, he said Betty had made them promise not to tell me on the trip back home. He, his wife, and one of the bridesmaids were the only ones who saw them kissing. He also told me who the other woman was. She lives in a different state. Update. On Wednesday, Betty went to her scheduled therapist appointment and told her what happened between us. Not sure what all was said, but she called me on the way to her friend's house, apologizing for some things she said. She wanted to come home and talk. I told her to stay at her friend's house that night, think about what she wanted, and come home Thursday to sit down and work things out. On Thursday, we met at the house and talked over dinner. We both apologized for getting heated and saying unfair things to each other. After talking to her therapist and having several conversations with her best friend over the last few days, she decided not to explore her bisexual urges. The idea of a truly open relationship where I was free to sleep with other people terrified her, and getting married was more important than chasing the rainbow. Her original idea had been just a free pass to see if she was missing something in her life and how important it was to her. I asked if she was after a one-night stand, just dating a woman, or having a full relationship. She couldn't tell me exactly what she wanted. I said that didn't sound very monogamous to me or very fair. She agreed and said that's why she was giving up on exploring those feelings. Next, she brought up the notes I sent out canceling our save the date notices for our wedding day. She said she was getting all kinds of calls about what happened and was initially caught off guard by what they were even talking about. She was upset I did that without talking to her first. I reminded her that she had dropped 2 grenades in my lap, coming out as bisexual and cheating on me, then leaving and refusing to talk except for a cryptic "I'm so sorry" text followed by silence. I never mentioned anything other than that we were having issues and had to postpone the wedding, but evidently there was speculation that she had cheated. She switched gears, saying we could still get back on track and marry next spring. No way, because now, whenever one of us is out of town, I'll be thinking you're cheating again, especially after coming out and wanting to have an affair to explore your sexuality. I suggested that maybe after couples therapy, we could get back to a good place, but not by the end of the year. It would be foolish to start planning and making financial commitments before we even knew if therapy would work. Plus, I wanted a prenup to protect everything I brought into the marriage, as well as my future retirement savings. She'd forfeit any equity if we bought a house. When she protested, I said if you plan to be faithful and not change your mind later, then it shouldn't be an issue. It's just something to give me some peace of mind. We've been discussing this for the last few days. Betty wants to brush the wedding incident under the rug and move forward. In her opinion, exploring her sexuality isn't worth sacrificing our relationship. For now, we're back together and planning on counseling soon. In a moment of clarity, I realized I rushed into the idea of an open relationship to give Betty the freedom to explore her new feelings, and I'm not quite willing to consider that option anymore. I think separation might be the better choice. Breaking up, if you will, until we both decide our future direction, and if it includes each other. It's not what I want, but I also don't want to spend the next few years together only for her to change her mind or cheat on me later. Relevant comments. Oop clarifies the chasing the rainbow comment and whether he has an issue with her sexuality. Chasing the rainbow was her analogy, not mine. I didn't have a problem with her sexuality. The issue was that she cheated. Sure, she only made out with someone and wanted permission to have sex with someone else, but male or female, that's unacceptable in what I thought was our monogamous relationship. Being bisexual doesn't give you the right to sleep with someone else while in an exclusive relationship. It just means you're attracted to twice as many people. I want to be with her and support her, but that doesn't mean I support her dating other people to explore her sexuality while being with me. OP on breaking up as the best scenario. Most scenarios I imagine end in disaster. Breaking up and letting her find herself might be the best option. If in 3 to 6 months we both decide to start over, maybe it stands a better chance than trying to move forward as we are now. But in 3 to 6 months, I think I'll have moved on to something less complicated. The fact that she thought I wasn't enough and needed to experience something different to fulfill herself could be a deal breaker for me. Final comment from OOP. We have counseling scheduled to see what's best for us. Until we resolve this issue, we won't be getting married. I don't want to deal with cheating or her wanting to open the marriage down the line, possibly leading to divorce. Update. What a crappy week. Counseling started off badly. We walked into the office and saw a large pride flag on the wall. Our therapist was very biased towards my girlfriend's situation, glossing over the cheating and focusing on how I needed to better support Betty's awakening and journey, blah blah blah. Betty is the one who's confused, and apparently, I'm not providing a safe space for her to explore who she is. Nothing about my feelings or needs was addressed. To make matters worse, when the therapist was piling on me, I looked to Betty to stand up or say something positive for me, and I got nothing. That part hurt me the most, and I pretty much shut down for the rest of the session. Toward the end, the therapist tried to engage with me because you could tell she knew she had completely lost me. On the drive home, Betty tried to talk to me, and I gave her the 3 answers I kept repeating to the therapist. Sure, nope, and maybe. This was the therapist her individual therapist recommended to us. The next day, I got a call from Betty's Betty's mom at work, wanting to know why we were postponing the wedding and saying her family and friends had already started making plans. I told her she needed to take that up with her daughter. She kept badgering me until I finally told her Betty made out with someone at her friend's wedding, which was why things were on hold, and then I hung up on her. Less than an hour later, Betty called, demanding to know what I told her mom. I said I told her you kissed someone at a wedding, and we were trying to work through it, but I didn't mention Betty coming out to me. I told her she needed to sit her mom down and tell her the whole truth, but I'm not going to hold my breath. Then I get this text from her mom, telling me to suck it up and move past this, and that I might even be at fault for not going to the wedding with her. A huge text telling me what the fuck to do. I showed the text to Betty when she got home from work and said she needed to do something about her mom, or I would enlighten her with the full story of all our problems the next time she tried to tear me a new one. Betty said she would handle her mom and made me promise to give her some time to tell her mom everything. Also, this week Betty has become very protective of her phone, which is a major red flag. I went to charge my phone, unplugged hers to plug mine in, and she practically flew across the room to snatch her phone from my hand. Later, when she was asleep, I sneaked a look and discovered she'd changed her access code, something she hadn't done since we got together. I checked our phone bill and noticed many lengthy calls to a Colorado area code, the same place the girl she kissed is from. I'm just mentally exhausted at this point. The gaslighting, the lying, just feeling like I'm treading water all the time. Lately, there's a lack of passion in her when we're intimate, which wasn't the case before all this. I feel love bombed without feeling it, just hollow words and empty gestures. Tomorrow we're going to a cookout at her parents' house. I'm going to try to stay cool and not say anything, fingers crossed, but when we get back, I'm telling Betty I'm done. I'll give her the choice of keeping the apartment or moving out. She'll be free to explore and find what truly makes her happy, but it won't be me. I've come clean with my parents and a few friends about this whole mess. My tribe is ready to support me and help with the move when I need them. Dad vetoed Mom's offer to move back home and suggested I get a new puppy. I'm definitely too old to live with my retired parents. It feels weirdly peaceful now that I've made up my mind. To all of you who told me so, you were right. It's time to move on with my life. Comments. Molecular. I'd be tempted to leave a review on the therapist somewhere. Something short like, my fiancé cheated on me at a wedding and continues to call the person she cheated with, and this therapist told me I needed to support my fiancé's exploration of other people rather than addressing the betrayal. At the very least, I'd make sure the therapist knows why we won't be coming back. Therapists can't improve if they don't know when they fucked up, and I guarantee you, this therapist really fucked up. If you tell anyone in your personal life about the infidelity, I'd recommend clarifying that it wasn't just a one-time thing and that she continued with the emotional affair. I'm sorry that your fiancé is literally having an emotional affair right now, and the therapist you saw was the wrong choice. I wish you luck. Oop, I like your review, but I'm not sure where I'd post it. Our therapist definitely had an agenda, but if we don't show up for the next session, she already knows why. After browbeating me for most of the session, she realized I checked out and spent the last 10 to 15 minutes trying to get me to re-engage. She tried to shake my hand as I left, but I just silently stood up and left her office. I haven't confronted Betty about the phone calls yet, but I plan to ask her tonight before telling her we're done. My family and friends, who I told yesterday, know everything, including about the calls. For now anyway, my stress levels are surprisingly low, knowing what I want to do. My sister will be at my house when we get back and plans to stay at least for the night while I tell Betty my decision. Update. Betty and I returned early from a cookout at her parents' house. I had planned for my sister to be at our house when we got back as a witness, but had to wait a couple of hours for her to show up. I got us all in the living room and told Betty I couldn't do it anymore and was throwing in the towel. I said I'd lost all trust in her, couldn't see a way forward, and that the best choice was to just go our separate ways. Betty couldn't understand what I was saying and insisted she had been honest since her confession about what happened at the wedding. I asked if she had been in contact with the girl she kissed at the wedding, and she denied it. I asked to see her phone, but she refused, saying it would violate her privacy and the privacy of the people she had talked to. Fine. So who did you call with a 720 area code? Maybe I should call and see who answers. Doesn't really matter because it proves my point. I gave her a choice. She could move out or I would, and I also said I would return what she had contributed to our savings account for the wedding. She tried to get my sister to leave or get me alone to talk, but I told her I had been advised to have a witness present just in case. She went from crying to being angry, and after an hour and a half, she finally had a calm conversation about everything. We talked until almost midnight. This morning, Betty decided to move back to her parents temporarily, and the three of us packed up her things. While we waited for her dad and brother to come get her stuff, she tried to convince me to see a different counselor and give therapy another chance, but I told her it was just a waste of time. I could never trust her again, and that was no way to live. Not much of an ending. Relevant comments. Just a dude fromans. Bloody hell. It's so hard to believe that your girlfriend continued to lie to you to the very end. Can I ask, once she calmed down and talked until almost midnight, did she ultimately tell you the truth and confess everything she's been doing since that kiss? If so, how on earth did she try to justify all the lies she's been telling you, or at least explain why she has lied to you all this time? Oop, girlfriend, not wife. She never did come completely clean. I think she is holding on to hope that I will change my mind. She is confused and conflicted. If she told me the truth, then I think she is afraid I would leave her for sure. Her words were, I only hid things to protect your feelings. Okay, capital. Have you talked to her dad and brother, or the friends who covered for her, to see what she's been been telling them and what they think about all this. I'd hate for her to make you out as the bad guy and claim it's all about the kiss, not everything else. Oop. I didn't speak with her brother or dad when they came over. The friends who covered for her know almost everything from my point of view. Betty hasn't talked much with them since the wedding. The husband was especially upset that she stayed in touch with the woman she kissed, and his wife has been consoling, saying it was lucky I found out now rather than later. OP on trying to save the relationship. At first, I thought this was just a bump in the road, something we could get past, but it turned into a sinkhole that just got deeper and deeper. I believe her first therapist set her on the wrong path. In the end, she just became selfish and self-absorbed, which really turned me off. It kills me to think she threw away what we had and all the plans we made. It was like she became a completely different person in such a short time. Oop on his relationship with her parents, changing the locks, and the friends group. I had a great relationship with her family. It went south with her mom when I postponed the wedding. Her mom was all wrapped up in planning and was almost too involved, so when I pulled the plug, she took it hard, almost personally. I got everything changed except the locks. I'm waiting on the landlord for that. Definitely cutting back on some friends after this. Most of my core group has been pretty solid through all the drama. More on cutting back the friend group. No, not completely. They're part of a larger friend group. I keep my distance but try to stay polite. The rest of the group knows they kept the secret from me and they've gotten some grief over it. They both have been remorseful and have supported me as things have played out. The wife remains friends with Betty and still talks to her quite a bit. The husband and I were really close, but I don't engage much with him anymore unless it's in a group setting. Final comments from OP. I dropped off a box with some of her things we missed, along with some mail, at her work today. She wanted to talk and maybe meet for dinner, but I told her we just need to move on and left. I've blocked her on everything and just want to put it all behind me. Well, she's gone for good. All her stuff is out of the apartment, and she got her share of the money we were saving for the wedding. I've blocked her on everything and have no plans to contact her again. I don't need closure, apologies, or explanations. She has made several attempts to reach out through friends and at work. People at work know not to bother me and don't even take messages from her anymore. I politely tell friends why I won't take her back, and they usually understand and drop it. I've had to block a couple of people who keep trying to get me to talk to her. Story 2. Would it make me a bad person if I backed out of being the maid of honor at my brother's wedding because his fiancée suggested I might spoil the event by not looking as attractive now as I did in my 20s? Look, my brother, 38M, Aaron, is super smart book-wise, but can be a fool with affairs of the heart. I'm not mad at him for this, and I don't want to hurt him, but Heather, 27F, is a Sith Lord of a woman, powerful, manipulative, and ugly beneath her mask. It sucks more because I introduced them. Heather and I, 32F, met playing D&D and kept in touch after that group disbanded. She met Aaron at my birthday party, and they dated secretly for a year before telling me and our mutual friends. They got engaged at my birthday party, and he asked me to be his best woman, a female best man, because we've always been incredibly close. Heather frowned and said it was ridiculous. I should obviously be her MOH since we're friends and women go on the bride's side. The moment got awkward. I said I was happy to stand for them on either side because at the end of the day, it's about them as a couple, not the individuals. Whatever they wanted worked for me. I'm an idiot. I could list in detail all the red flags that should have told me she was more trouble than she was worth, even if she were encrusted in diamonds. But my brother was deliriously happy, and I guess I rolled a 1 on insight. The issue started when Heather assumed the MOH was also the wedding planner, point of contact for the bride, free makeup artist, and the one who pays for the bridesmaid dresses and the bachelorette party. I compromised by agreeing to do the makeup for free. I did modeling in my 20s and know how to make do, and help plan the wedding with her and my brother. However, I couldn't pay for the dresses she wanted. I'd cover mine, but not the others, and the party, so I offered to handle one. She picked the dresses, the more expensive option, and I paid without complaint. She had all the bridesmaids, except me, pay for the entire bachelorette trip, even those who couldn't attend, but blasted me in the group chat, apologizing for the cost of the trip, since OP's not financially contributing. This led to the girls asking why I wasn't paying anything. Things like that kept happening. I'll pause here to mention my brother is a senior staff engineer at a huge tech company and teaches programming at a major school, so he makes plenty of money. When I asked him why he wasn't helping pay for the wedding, he looked puzzled and asked what I meant. I immediately shut up, realizing I stepped in it, and he said Heather insisted on paying for her half of the wedding. They would jointly pay for the shared parts, cake, venue, etc., to show her haters she's not marrying him for his money. I know I'm the asshole for stepping in that one. I admit it. There's more, but I don't want this to turn into a novel, so I'll jump to the part where I might be the moral asshole. I hosted a planning party for the bridesmaids and Heather, as she wanted, and we sat working on odds and ends, drinking a lot of wine. One of the girls, Amber, 20F, asked if she could change her hair color. Her own wedding was coming up, and she had a long waitlisted spot at a salon she had dreamt of, and she wanted to go red. For context, I'm black and use weave to style my hair in crimson red twists. Amber said she wanted about my shade and that it complemented my skin tone. Heather chuckled at that, and I looked at her like, what? She said it was fine, claiming she wasn't a bridezilla, but she'd prefer only one of us looked that tacky. I felt hurt because Heather knew me before I went red years ago, and back then, she told me how great I looked and how I glowed. Now I'm tacky? I asked if she meant it that way, and she shrugged, saying, it's about the people, not how good they look. I didn't get it, and the other girls started chiming in. Heather just said, oh my god, calm down. I didn't mean anything wrong. I won't let OP ruin my wedding entirely. It's It's really okay. We're all going to start looking different in our 30s, etc. I was the oldest of all the girls there, and I kind of chuckled it off, mentioning how Heather always complimented how young I still look, like I did when I was doing fashion modeling. Nothing big, just commercials and small local runways, as it was once my dream to be like Victoria's Secret or whatever, LMAO. She snorted and said something like, "You can't do runway now, and you know it." Okay, at this point, I directly asked her if she had something to say to me. She replied that since I had been so sensitive about her asking me to handle things, like being the wedding planner, paying for the party, etc., for her wedding, she didn't want to bring it up. But she wanted me to revert to when you were so pretty, like when we met, which meant going back to my natural light brown hair, losing weight, I'm 5 feet 7 inches and 120 pounds, and wearing shapewear to fit into a smaller dress. Then she said, "Look at these lovely ladies, right? It would mean a lot to me if you all could shine up there." I told her that was hurtful, and I liked how I look now. I had lots of body issues chasing that dream in my 20s, skipped meals, drank too much, and worse, hated my body. Now I have curves, and I love them. I offered to wear a wig for the wedding if my hair color was an issue, and she just got quiet and changed the subject. To avoid everyone watching me get upset, I just shook the wine bottle, laughed, and said something about it being empty. I told them I was heading to the kitchen to get a fresh bottle. Heather came in a couple of minutes later and started saying, "Hey, you know I love you no matter how you look, babe." I shot back, "But I look tacky?" She shrugged and said that's why she didn't want to ask me. She knew I would focus on nothing but perceived slights. I handed her the new wine bottle to take in and stepped outside to calm down. It's still on my mind. The wedding is this summer, and I'm kicking myself for being sensitive. It's messing with my head. Now, I can't even imagine standing up in front of everyone we know in a bright dress. The MOH dress is a different color and cut than the other bridesmaids, the way I am. But part of me thinks I'm letting her get under my skin and shouldn't worry about how I look. I don't want to be MOH regardless though. Would I be the asshole if I step down? I don't even know what I would tell my brother. Sorry for the nerdy references. They're a coping mechanism. Edit. A couple of FAQs and points I didn't think to add. My brother has a prenup. It wasn't really about trust. He just wanted something to point at to refute rumors that she's with him for money. I'm told she agreed enthusiastically. She doesn't have a full-time job. She works retail and does some theater acting at my job. She lives with her sister and her sister's spouse in the city while attending school, as she took a gap of a few years between high school and college. Her sister is kind of how we met since she's part of my gaming group. I don't work in software, nor do I make a lot compared to my brother. I'm single, live alone, and make okay money in nonprofit theater to get by. Aaron and I don't have any other family. We've been each other's family since I came out as bisexual, and our grandfather disowned me. Aaron went no contact to support me. We're not biological siblings. Aaron is adopted, and I'm a miracle baby. Our dad walked out when I was a kid, and our mom passed away when I was a teen. Relevant comments. The other girls? The other girls did try to speak up, but Heather shut them down quickly. Some even texted me afterwards apologizing for what happened. One backed Heather, but she's the only bridesmaid who isn't a mutual acquaintance or friend of ours. She's Heather's BFF and has hated me from the start because I am MOH instead of her. You're actually underweight already. I'm considered borderline, but still technically normal. I fought tooth and nail to get here. Trying to be a model back then was brutal, and I didn't prioritize my health. Afterward, I let my body heal and went to a doctor outside the industry who put me on a regimen. I worked out, ate differently, the whole 9 yards. I look back on those photos and cringe. I didn't look healthy, and I know I wasn't happy. More info. I am in the States, and yes, usually the MOH and best man handle the stag bachelor party, and the same goes for the bride's side. I was all for having a bachelor party for my brother, and we actually always talked about me being his best man, planning his bachelor party, and attending as well. I was happy to pay for a few things here and there. Having a sister was great, but her requests became demands, and I felt compromise was needed. I emptied my savings for the dresses because they were incredibly expensive, and Heather wanted alterations to their cut. Tell your brother, I considered it, but I'm terrified of losing him. To be honest, it's always been him and me against the world. While we have close friends, both together and separately, I'm afraid I'm deflating his happiness, and that he'll resent me or get defensive and push me out for good. Update. I immediately got comments saying the same thing, that I would be the asshole to not tell my brother the truth. It was devastating, and I admit some of the comments were worded in a way that really hurt. But at the end of the day, I was asked if I was okay with Aaron marrying someone who will hurt him, and something in my brain clicked. I love my brother more than anything, and I realize now I was being spineless and selfish not to come to him with this. From the beginning of my time as MOH, Heather monopolized my attention. I can pinpoint exact moments I was slowly pushed out of regular contact with Aaron. If I wasn't working or doing my side gigs, all my time was spent on the phone with her or covering the bill at dinners and lunches related to the wedding. Someone mentioned she was trying to keep me and Aaron from spending time together, and I realized they were right. Anytime I called him and she was there, she'd take the phone to talk about wedding stuff, etc. I'd be so worn out at the end of my days that I wouldn't even reply to texts. I feel so stupid. I was a coward, so afraid of losing my only family, that I forgot how to be family to him. It's hard to admit, but it's true. Aaron called me early. Apparently, a bridesmaid from the night I mentioned in my last post, Sophia, 26F, one of our good friends, suggested he reach out to me. When he asked why, she didn't say. I didn't realize how miserable I'd been since that party at my house. I hadn't noticed how much I seemed off. It was pointed out to me how far out I appeared in public and how withdrawn I've been in general. Aaron called and asked if I was alright. I know the wedding is stressful. Heather has been a wreck. I snapped, started crying, and hung up. He was at my place within the hour, and I told him everything. I don't remember ever seeing him so mad. I'm skipping a lot to keep it brief. He asked how much I spent on the wedding. I just handed him my phone with my bank app and the bridesmaid chat all open. He scrolled through and asked why I hadn't mentioned this to him. I explained, and he just shook his head. He hugged me, told me not to worry, and ordered us food. After he left, Sophia texted me and Aaron in a new group chat with some recordings she had made while making TikToks during various bridesmaid events, with Heather in the background and nothing more. I saw Aaron indicated he saw it, but he hasn't said anything yet, other than, "Francesca, turn off your phone if you can. I will drop by tonight." I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I'm on my couch, drinking and waiting. Quick random update. I'm a bottle of wine in, so forgive my dyslexia. I'm doom scrolling Reddit and Facebook. Heather has blocked me on Facebook, and through an app for my texts, I can see she's messaged many times. I've opened nothing and won't until Aaron arrives. In the meantime, I'm genuinely in tears over your support and advice. I was never a strong person. That was our mom. But you and my friends make me feel strong, and I can't express my gratitude enough. I'll update when I can. It might be tomorrow since I'm crossing that line from tipsy to more than tipsy, lol. But seriously, thank you all so much. Second update, my Venmo popped up, and Heather's sister, Haley, just sent me money. No description, just a bride emoji. Also, Aaron says he's on his way. As I'm on Facebook, I see more of the girls in the bridal party dealing with issues with Heather in different chats. I'm more of an Insta/Twitter gal, so I didn't even see it. I'm messaging them back now. Relevant comments. What was in the TikToks? She was on TikTok many times, even during the planning party at my place. I didn't watch them all, but the ones I did see had Heather's voice putting me down. One clearly has her saying I'm wasting space if I don't go to and pay for the bachelorette party, which I completely forgot about. Another was one I wasn't there for, but Heather used the N-word, and the recording cuts out as the girls say that's not okay. I don't know how Aaron will handle this, but he knows how much I hate that word, and so did our mom. It angers him as well. Oops response and her past. I'm now realizing that, due to abuse I've suffered, I have an avoidant way about me to keep from conflict, which has hindered me from being a better sister and friend. I've decided to renew therapy in the coming weeks and start trusting myself more. It's unhealthy to hold on to past traumas, and that's what I've been learning today. I'm glad you didn't let this person come between you and your child. My mother used to say that hurt people is an incomplete statement. Hurt people when they don't see love as an option is more accurate. I think she's right. Some of the other girls, I found out about 2 others who reached out to Aaron, prompting him to call me. One is a good friend of mine. She became friends with him and added us to a group chat on Facebook. I hadn't logged in for a while until today. She didn't give specifics, just said, "You two should talk," and then left the chat. I'm realizing I have people who care for both Aaron and me, and that's truly amazing. Update. On to what happened. By the time Aaron got back to my place, I was less tipsy and more wine drunk. He looked at me and said I needed to lay off the celestial absinthe D&D joke. He looked exhausted. I apologized because I felt like I had imploded his life, and he snapped at me saying, "Don't you dare apologize for telling me the truth ever," and went on about how hurt he was that I never told him about any of it. I apologized again, and he reminded me of Jeff and how bad things could have gone if he hadn't figured out what Jeff was doing to me. I suffered in silence, and things could have escalated. He could have lost me. I'm all he has, and he would never have forgiven me or himself. I told him he was right and promised no more lies and no secrets between us. He made me pinky swear like we did when we were kids. He then told me what happened. He went home and listened to every single one of the recordings. He had sent himself items and screenshots from my phone, including all the payments he could find of what I spent, and calculated it. He wrote me a check, and the total is staggering. I don't know if everyone is like this, but sometimes it's hard to keep a running tally on a specific expense over time when you just spend a little here and there over a year. But let's just say the check will replenish my lost savings and then some. He then called Heather over under the guise of wanting to have dinner with her. When she arrived, he was sitting in his living room, acting casual. He was recording the whole conversation on his computer, where he teaches tech, so the audio was perfect when he played it back to me, except for when Heather was moving around his house doing things in other rooms as she talked to him. But he stayed on the couch by the desk. He casually asked about the wedding planning. She lamented how much there was to do, but said she was excited. He inquired about me. How is Francesca doing? I haven't been able to catch up with her, and Heather mentioned something about trying to coach me on being a MOH. She said it's fine because she just wants him to be happy and to have his adoptive sister in the wedding. Aaron and I never use the word adoptive. He is simply my brother, adopted or not. I never knew she used that term when I wasn't around. I can't quite pin down why, but it just didn't sit well with me. He kept it chill, asking her questions he already knew the answers to, and she would clearly lie to him. He brought up the money and mentioned maybe he should contribute since he earns more and doesn't mind. That's when the big lies happened. She claimed to have worked many shifts and saved a lot to pay for her half. Then she blamed me for the super expensive bridesmaid dresses, saying I made a big deal about not looking my best in the much more affordable dresses she wanted. She portrayed it as if she compromised by giving in to what I wanted, even though it was more expensive. I'm making this really short, but she made me out to be a diva diva, implying that I must talk him into buying me expensive things, and that the bachelorette was going to be her biggest expense because I'm a city girl and wouldn't stand for a small dinner, which is what Heather wanted. Absolute Wookie poo-poo, but whatever. Aaron messed around a bit longer before saying, "Hey, you should come listen to this," and started playing some of the videos. You can hear Heather saying things like, "Who is that?" and "That sounds like me, but that's not me." But he kept playing them until she finally asked, "What is this about?" He told her he knew the truth and was giving her the chance to come clean. She pretended she didn't know what he meant, and Aaron just said, "Let me be very clear. I know you've been lying to me, so tell me the truth." She started crying, asking why he was doing this to her and what she did to deserve it, which made him angry. He stated that the lying wasn't even the worst part, but how she treated him, his sister, and Heather's supposed friend. A lot was said between them, but he never raised his voice. At one point she was screaming, and he told her, "I won't even speak to you if you're just going to yell." They argued more, and he told her to get out, saying the wedding was off. He demanded she pay both him and me back for all the expenses, or he would take her to court. As she cried, he called her sister, Haley, to tell her that Heather was on her way back home and explained everything, so Haley understood why they were calling it off. The recording ends there, but according to Aaron, he put Heather's things in her sister's car for her. Yes, I'm pettily specific about Heather not owning a car, and locked her out. She stayed at the door crying for a minute, then left. Aaron says he took a moment to cool down before the drama kicked back up. Out of all the bridesmaids, only one was just Heather's friend, and not a mutual friend or a friend of mine or Aaron's. Kim hated me from the start because she is Heather's true best friend and thought she should have been the MOH. Instead, she made up some crap that I threw a fit about not being important in the wedding, so long-suffering Heather supposedly bent the knee and made me MOH. Kim called Aaron and yelled at him, saying Heather was at her house, heartbroken and depressed because the other girls lied to make her look bad. Heather is willing to forgive him and take him back, but he needs to acknowledge the truth. Kim said Heather only got mean to defend herself when everyone was ganging up on her, and Kim witnessed it firsthand. She told him I was the worst one, making snide remarks to Heather about taking my brother away from me, leaving me alone with no one. She implied something else I won't repeat here because it's disgusting, but Luke and Space Mom, if you know, you know. Then she dropped the bomb that Heather is also pregnant, and the stress can't be good for her or the baby. Aaron said he almost considered talking to Heather and seeing things from her perspective because he was dumb and thought he loved her, but the last part snapped him out of it. He said if Heather thought she was being attacked, he almost felt bad, but he also knew me well enough to know I am far from confrontational. Then wham, baby. He told Kim this is impossible since Heather's rule was no intercourse until marriage, and he respected that. But now Kim and Heather claim he was drunk one night, and they did the deed, which he supposedly doesn't remember because he was practically passed out for most of it, which I won't even begin to touch that here, but I've never been angrier in my life. Aaron doubts this because he's never been so drunk he forgets things. On top of that, why would Heather keep it a secret afterward? There's more to it, but those are the cliff notes. It was late, and Sophia couldn't come over, so we FaceTimed her to thank her. She and her girlfriend were eager to hear what happened. Aaron recounted the whole story, and Sophia's girlfriend Letty told Aaron to immediately demand a medical confirmation of pregnancy and a paternity test. She also advised him to have Heather clarify the timing and location. Letty reminded Aaron that he has cameras all over his home and in the main rooms, so Heather's claims can be easily disproven. However, she cautioned Aaron to tread carefully, as she suspects Heather might try to paint him as an aggressor if he refuses to be conned by that Medusa-ass homeworlder wannabe. Letty is pre-law, and her dad's an attorney, so Aaron plans to call him today and will only communicate with Heather through his attorney from now on. We also opened some of Heather's texts together and took screenshots, but I was sleepy from the wine and fell asleep. When I woke up, Aaron was still on my tablet, reading and taking screenshots. He seemed oddly upbeat. I asked what was up, and he informed me that Heather's sister, Haley, reached out. She will be going to the doctor with Heather to see if Heather is really pregnant, but Haley is doubtful because Heather never mentioned it, nor has Haley noticed any signs. It seems Haley is on his side and over her shit. He also wants to thank Sophia and the other bridesmaids for their help and is considering keeping the venue to host a party instead of the wedding, but he's unsure. Honestly, I don't think he slept. He looks awful, so I canceled all my plans to make sure he rests and takes care of himself. Nothing is decided yet, but he now sees how manipulative Heather can be. I know he's heartbroken, but he's putting on a brave face for everyone. Eventually, he'll need to mourn the relationship, and I'm determined to be here when he does. I think that's everything for now. I wanted to share this with everyone who has been so supportive of us, even if it meant giving me a kick in the pants to be honest with my brother. To my fellow browncoats and rebels, thanks for helping me feel part of a broader nerdom. It feels awesome. Story 3. A cousin I hate tried to turn my family against me to force me to give him $500 because I didn't get his son an expensive birthday gift like I did for the others. After getting browbeaten by the family and dealing with their crap, I eventually caved and got his son an expensive gift, one I know my cousin won't appreciate. I'll keep this short since I tend to ramble. We'll call my cousin Laron. He, his father, and his mother are on a list of people I despise so much you could choke on the fumes around me. Laron and his father were physically, emotionally, and verbally abusive to me and others during my childhood. Their treatment treatment of Laurent's little brother, Emmy, was a million times worse because Emmy was effeminate and clearly gay. Emmy was one of my favorite cousins. I love him to pieces. Many of the brutal beatings and torments from his brother happened because I dared to stick up for him. The worst was when some idiot guidance counselor convinced Emmy at around 13 or 14 to come out to his parents and demand respect. That didn't end well. The police were called, and Emmy ended up in the hospital. Laren made a big deal about not wanting to share a room with a super offensive homophobic insult. Things happened. Emmy moved in with our Nana, and through it all, Emmy's mother did nothing but watch. She let it happen. I confronted Laurent when we picked up Emmy's stuff, but I wasn't big enough yet to avoid getting my ass kicked. That was the last time. Years passed. Things happened. Laurent remained a douchebag. His father got worse and did terrible things, treated the family poorly, and was a constant source of grief for Emmy and others. My Aunt Baby didn't divorce him until the umpteenth time he cheated on her. I've always resented her for crying in my parents' house to my mother and other aunts about why he would treat her like that when all she did was love him. I remember yelling that it's because he's an awful human being, and she knew it. She watched him brutalize his children. He hits her, and she's crying over him. I told her she was pathetic and that I hated her. I fully expected my mom or someone to scold me then, but standing next to Emmy, no one seemed to want to tell me I was wrong in front of him. Years later, many years later, I'm grown. We're all grown. They have kids. I don't have kids yet, though my wife is pregnant now. My cousins, my siblings, all of them have a lot of kids. The ages range from around 6 or 7 for some of the youngest ones to around 18 or 19 for some of the older ones. My brother's daughter is 18. Laurent's kids are 17, 14, and 12. I don't like Laurent's children, and it's not because their dad is a mega douche. It's not even because every one of their moms is more ratchet than the last, except for the 17-year-old, whose mother was a sweet girl I really liked, but Laurent was too much like his dad for her to stay with him. It's because despite everyone's best efforts to be positive influences on these kids, their father's influence is king. They are rude. They are violent. They are incredibly ghetto. They steal and are generally on that hood rat-ish. Moreover, they've adopted their father's homophobia and bully the other kids, including Emmy's 2 adopted kids, because their parents are gay. I tried having a positive relationship with these kids, but I'm no saint. I don't like bad kids. I don't like bad attitudes. I don't like dealing with some of the parents attached to these kids. Because my dad was successful while much of his family wasn't, there was a lot of friction there. I used to get bullied by them, told I talk white, or that I wasn't black enough. I actually had to pick up some slang in high school just to fit in. Sometimes it comes naturally now, but it still sounds off to my ears when it slips out, especially when I'm not trying. Usually, it only comes out when I'm angry. Because of this, I don't treat everyone the same. Those I like, I go out of my way for. Those I have a stronger relationship with, like my nieces and nephews who call or game with me. The ones who reach out just to talk or share what's going on with them, rather than just ask for stuff, get special treatment. Trying to get something out of me is actually the fastest way not to get it. I'm reasonably stable financially, and am known for giving thoughtful or seemingly expensive gifts to those I care for. Those I don't care about or am indifferent to get basic gift cards. This has caused some friction in my family, though I used to ignore the little murmurs, since at least no one had the nerve to confront me about it. Most of these people were awful to me growing up, made no effort to build a relationship with me as an adult, and didn't put in any effort. Most don't even wish me a happy birthday on Facebook, so I meet them with that same energy. I've only been financially stable for about 4 years, so now a lot of them are trying to be friendlier with me, and it's obvious. The inciting event was a birthday. Laurent's kid, along with 2 other nieces and nephews, all have birthdays around the same time. They've always shared their party. I like the other 2, so I got them specific gifts based on conversations we've had and their interests. They are 13F, 13M, and Laurent's kid is 14M. I got the girl a Cintiq because she draws, which is also my vocation. I definitely felt good about that gift. I got the boy a go-kart because he's convinced he's going to be a race car driver and always wanted one. He was a big fan of Little Giants, a movie I watched as a kid. He liked it, so we got him a little go-kart. Each of these costs around $500. I have some hookups, especially with the Cintiq. I live in a different state, so I had the gifts sent to the kids' homes and told their parents not to have them opened or given at the party, specifically because I wasn't getting Laren's kid anything like that. I may not like them, but I'm not about to rub their noses in it. Instead, I got everyone gift cards and nice handmade cards of their favorite anime characters. Even Laurent's son got a card with himself as a Naruto character on some lovely cardstock. I spent a lot of time with my X-Acto knife crafting them. All the kids got $50 gift cards, and I donated money to the joint fund for their college, which is the standard thing we do on everyone's birthday. The whole family that can contribute. It's so automatic, pay what you can, that I didn't mention it in my journal. Apparently, Auntie Harley and Uncle Mac didn't follow my instructions, and their gifts got opened at the party. Worse, they were opened right out of the boxes, so everyone knows what they are and what they cost. I got a very upset phone call from Laurent and his wife accusing me of favoritism and being petty, taking out my anger against him on his kids. I told him my treatment of his children is based on their reaction, not his, because I hate Bebot and Cora, but I love their kids. I told him they aren't entitled to anything from me. He insists I shouldn't get anyone anything if everyone doesn't get something, and that I should just send him the equivalent money because his kid was traumatized by the unfairness of it all. Things got heated, and then his current baby mama, who isn't related to the other 3 and is is pregnant with his latest, got on the phone. She tried giving me the business, so I hung up on her. I got 2 more calls. One, they dialed me back. I hung up again. The next was from my Aunt Monica, who had Laurent and Emmy's mother, Aunt Bebe, with her. She said she understood and all that, and she knows what's going on with me and Laren and how I feel about his kids because they bully the other kids. But she mentioned that my favoritism might be causing a problem. She was under the false impression from Laurent that I had promised to get his kid a gift of equal value, and now I'm reneging because I'm butthurt over something. The first exchange wasn't good, especially since they repeated this idea that I should send like $500 to Laurent. Things got worse when his mother said something and then asked why I hate her and how I used to be such a good kid. I went off on her for being a bystander and staying with her husband, even though he beat her, her kid, and me. I also admonished her for only leaving the guy for cheating on her. Let me be frank, I was not kind when I said this. Not kind in the slightest. I was very mad. After that, I got family pressure to just basically make the problem go away, with some quoting that I shouldn't give anything to anyone if I'm not going to be fair. Usually, those who I don't do much for. But some folks, even Emmy, said, I'm being too unfair. He believes that even though his nephew and nieces from his brother are rotten, it's not their fault. He still tries his best to be their friend and buddy and keeps bringing his kids around, trying to have a relationship. I think it's a form of abuse because his kids hate it and they disrespect him and his children, but that's not my call. Laurent is still an asshole to Emmy, so they don't have much of a relationship, but Emmy has forgiven his mother. His father, not so much. We're both really glad he's dead, and we both urinated on his grave. That's not a joke. We said we were going to do it, and we did. If I still lived there, I'd make it a yearly event. So Laurent and his hood rat have been getting the family to hound me for days. I'm dealing with my own stuff since my wife is pregnant, and I've got my own life and issues. It's really stressed me out. At first, I took Reddit's advice and threatened to go no contact with anyone pressing me about it. I also told folks that I don't owe anyone anything, least of all fairness when it comes to my generosity. There were a lot of people coming out of the woodwork, emailing and pressuring me. I finally caved after talking to Emmy. Emmy and I talked about the situation. He's defending the kids, saying how messed up their situation is, how hard it is to come out a better person with those negative influences, and how they're probably going to need therapy like he did. That gave me an idea. So, you want me to spend $500 or so on a gift for your kid. You want me to give him a well thought out, meaningful gift of that magnitude, something I believe he needs or would help him, based on our conversations, like with the others. Okay, bet. I called up Aunt Monica and told her I'm going to fix my mistake, because it was wrong for them to open their gifts in front of him like that. I'm not a monster, so I'll give him something equivalent to what he desperately needs. Aunt Monica knows me, so she's like, what are you going to do, unfettered? I don't like how pleased with yourself you sound. I tell her it's all good and to look forward to the gift in the mail. I contacted a friend of my dad's, Dr. Lubsey, who is a child therapist. He said he'd charge $65 an hour, which is awesome. He's a good therapist. I know because I saw him as a kid when I was dealing with all this bullying and stuff. I don't think he was my dad's friend back then. I believe they became friends afterward. I told him the story. He knows everything about me, Laurent and Emmy. He's met Emmy and me multiple times, and we've even had 2 group sessions with Laurent and his dad that one time when we were younger. So he understands the situation, though I didn't let him know or imply that I was doing this to be a dick. I am mostly, but I do think Laurent's little devil, let's just call him Devin, could use it. I talked him into doing 8 sessions for $500 and said I'd pay. He reminded me that even if I pay, no one can force the kid to go to therapy, especially if Laurent and his mom don't want it. So he suggested talking to them before paying, and then we'd see. I said, nah, I'm gonna pay up front, and if they ever want to take it, they can. It'll be my gift to them. He told me he thought I've grown up to be an upstanding person. I took the compliment with a shit-eating grin because I know I'm being a little shit. He said if Laurent doesn't take me up on the offer, he'd refund me. I told him that's cool, just don't give the money to Laurent. He said he wouldn't. Once this was secure, I contacted Laurent and let him know I'd changed my mind and got his son an equivalent gift. I said I'd send the receipt to him, and it was up to him if he wanted to take advantage of it or not. Just as I thought, he was upset that I didn't just send him the money. I told him these are gifts. He tried to play it off like he wasn't just wanting it for himself, using the excuse that I don't know his son, and he'd probably be better at buying the gift. But I shut that down and told him I guessed with everyone else. I'm guessing here too. He wanted to know what it was, and I told him he'd see. He got it yesterday afternoon. I received a very angry call. Oh, his rage and anger were sweet. He accused me of questioning his parenting, and I replied, I am. He said he thought I was funny, and I said, I do. He said some other things, and I just smugly reiterated that, like with the other children, I sat down and thought long and hard about our previous conversations, and what they wanted to do or be. I got them a gift I thought was appropriate to encourage that. Your son wants to be successful, and before he can be, I think he needs therapy. I've already gotten so many phone calls. Surprisingly, I've received a lot of support for my decision, more than I expected. Everyone knows I'm being cheeky here. Most who support me think it's a masterstroke. My dad, whose opinion I value more than anyone else's, said he would have approved of me not doing anything for these leeches, but considered what I did to be checkmate and said he's very proud of me. I've always been a creative problem solver. My mother told me I'm an asshole, but it was a good move. She was laughing, so she wasn't really admonishing me. Those against me say I was trying to be nasty, but actually, it's a good gift for him. Auntie Monica has been laughing hysterically. Aunt Baby said through Monica that I was trying to be hateful, but I ended ended up being helpful, so thank you. Some said some mean shit, and I told them they can go NC if they don't like what I do with my money. Emmy believes I did the right thing and finds it hilarious. He promised that if Devin does go, he'll match my contribution to get him another 5 sessions. Laren and his hood rat baby mama Kimberly are so angry because the family is telling them they got what they wanted, and now they just sound selfish and greedy. You can't ask for a specific gift. They don't have much of a leg to stand on. Here's what I know. Laron would have spent that money on himself. I also know that if I bought something tangible, they would have sold it and spent that money on themselves. This isn't why I didn't do that. I didn't do it because I didn't want to give Devin anything, but being able to foil their selfish little plan was a bonus. So now I'm happy and I can focus on my pregnant wife and her current crisis. Yay me. Update. So where do I even begin? Apparently I opened up a bigger can of worms than I imagined. It turns out the kids are all supposed to be in therapy, some kind of legally mandated counseling that they haven't been attending. I'm not sure of the details yet regarding the legal stuff, but here's the gist. The youngest got kicked out of school for stabbing someone with a pencil. I think she was justified, given there was some kind of sexual assault element involved. The middle kid, Devin, as I mentioned before, is violent and gets into fights. Surprisingly, the eldest is well adjusted, though I credit his mother's influence for that. However, he's apparently been getting into fist fights with his dad. I must admit, I don't have much of a relationship with the 17-year-old Laren Jr. I call him LJ. The main reason is his father and the fact that he doesn't interact much with me. In fact, he's pretty introverted and has actively avoided us for years. I get why now. Speaking with him recently, LJ told me he has been distant with me and Emil on purpose since he was little. He said he appreciates us, but because his father mistreated him when he wanted to spend time at my parents' place or accept gifts from Emil, he stopped. LJ distanced himself not just from us, but from his cousins as well. He said he once confided in Aunt Pam and Uncle Mac about it, and they told his father, which got him beaten, so he withdrew from everyone. I told him he should have come to me or Emil, and he asked what we were going to do. I asked if he had told his mom, and he said he had, numerous times. That's why he mostly stays with her, but she's forcing him to have some kind of relationship with his dad, whom he sees every other week. I've been away, so I didn't know about the living arrangement. LJ's a teenager, so I thought his behavior was just typical teenage stuff. I admit, it's been a long time since I actually had a real conversation with him. To be honest, I always thought he was an aloof asshole, but I guess I was wrong. I felt bad about that, but he says it's not my fault. That's exactly what he wanted people to think, so they would leave him alone. We couldn't help him, only make his situation worse. My reluctance to keep trying to be in his life was kind of his goal. I also learned that I misjudged at least one of the mothers, the youngest ones. When I met Latoya, I thought she was the most ratchet piece of hood rat trash on the planet, and she kind of was. She was younger, fast, had an attitude, one of those people who gossiped, got into drama, and didn't do anything to better herself. She got arrested for keying her ex's car while dating Laron because she was still angry about some shit he did when they were together. She was incredibly rude and ghetto, and very deliberately aggressive with folks. In the years since, she's apparently grown up a bit. She's been fighting for full custody of her kid. She has joint custody now. After the pencil incident, there was some kind of mandated counseling. It was pretty vague, that Laron was supposed to have the kid in, which turned into a request to see a child therapist. Apparently the mothers, even Devin's ratchet-ass mother, had been sending Laron money for this purpose. He was lying, and having the kids lie to their mother that they had been going. He even got someone to sign fake documents, or so I'm told. I'm not sure how that can even be possible. Doesn't someone check on that? Isn't there an entire system in place to keep that from happening? Don't the school or some kind of court officer get involved in situations like this? How can you fake something like that without getting caught? Apparently, the word got back to the mothers that Laron was refusing to take the kid to paid therapy sessions, which set off her spidey sense. She started questioning why I even needed to pay for therapy. She asked different family members uncomfortable questions, and we found out that some of them were helping Laron lie and cover up things. Mostly the usual suspects, but surprisingly, one of my cousins, Alicia, who should know better. The mothers got together and confronted Laron, which led to a physical altercation with Kimberly. LJ stepped in to protect his mother, and Laron punched him hard enough to dislocate his jaw. Ratchet-ass Kimberly pulled a knife, and the police were called. I don't know the details, but that was the wrong move. Apparently, Kimberly and Laron have been using. No one knows what, or they won't tell me, but it wasn't weed. There were drugs and drug paraphernalia in the house. There was a check on the kids, a police statement, and all kinds of stuff I've not been privy to, but the short and dirty is both Kim and Laron got arrested. The charges I know about are child abuse, assault with a deadly weapon, reckless endangerment, drug possession with intent to sell, and a whole slew of other crap too long to remember. The youngest, his daughter Amberlyn, is now with her mom, who is filing a restraining order and suing for full custody. Devin's mom cannot take him, so he's with Auntie Monica, and LJ is with his mom. Some family members are blaming me for this mess. One even said that by buying the therapy, I was getting them white folks in our business, which is hilarious because Dr. Lubsy is black, but whatever. People are pissed at me because now the family is at each other's throats. Half of them are just finding out the extent of Laron's child abuse, neglect, and poor behavior with and in front of his kid, and they want him to rot. The other half is on that family first crap. They've decided I'm solely responsible, and anyone defending me or not attacking me on Facebook is a traitor. They alternate between attacking me and trying to guilt me into helping with his legal fees. Even some of the decent ones think if we don't help, the mothers will take Laurent's kids and we'll never see them again. I was annoyed, but ignored much of the bullshit since I had many family members defending me too. But I lost it when folks started disparaging my wife. The same crowd, talking about keeping those white folks out of our business, started targeting me, Uncle Brad, Ray Ray, and Isaac because we want to be white with our snow bunnies. Of course, this was started by Cece and Babat, but it gained traction with some other folks, turning into a real shit show with some people getting blocked outright. Isaac's wife went the fuck off. She's like Dutch Irish or something and doesn't take shit from anyone. Now folks, admittedly, only the stupid ones, are saying I've split the family in two. It's funny how the little battle lines being drawn seem to separate the haves from the have-nots. Laren and Kimberly are facing some serious charges. The kids are telling tales, and it doesn't look good. I am being blamed for opening up this whole can of worms. I don't know if I can take responsibility for this, but this is where my petty revenge went. So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. Things are volatile right now. I was hoping to give a positive update here, that family pressure put Devin in therapy, and Laurent finally manned the fuck up and did something for his kids instead of feeding his ego. I was wrong, and now my family is at war. I'm not feeling good about it, but I haven't felt bad about it either. I have to wonder if I'm so bitter that I'm indifferent to how bad this can get. My only thought has been, maybe this will turn out better for the kids. I don't know if that's just my own bias.